There are 7 different categories that you need to budget for at Disney World. But there's one that most families are choosing to cut when they shouldn't. So when we're going to Disney, we're not just blowing our money and spending it on lavish things. We've got a budget. This is where I'm gonna suggest that if you can, splurge just a little bit, and this one can get out of hand. Now, this is not something that you definitely need to splurge on for every park. If you're new here, hi, my name is Tiana, and here at Magically Ever Mom, I share a lot of tips, tricks, and personal adventures to help you get the most out of your Disney World vacation with little kids and babies. I post every Thursday and every other Monday, so make sure you're subscribed to not miss the next one. In today's video, I'll be sharing how I budget for Disney World, as well as sharing a few tips and tricks along the way to make sure your money goes a little bit farther and where maybe you can even put some of that money. First off, I want to say that I know what it feels like to stick to a tight budget, or a pretty tight budget at least. We are an average income, average family. We have 2 kids, a 4-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy, who thankfully is still free. More on that later. And so when we're going to Disney, we're not just blowing our money and spending it on lavish things. We've got a budget. With that being said, there are still a few splurges that I definitely think you need to do, especially if you have young children. Over the years, I've learned a few tips and tricks, not just about what's worth it, but how to make your money go a little bit farther at Disney World, and specifically Disney World. I'll go over more common questions at the end, but first let's talk about the biggest one, or at least the most asked, and that is, when should I save for Disney? And how much should I save? This is a question that I really can't answer personally. Obviously, I don't know your family size, I don't know what your needs are and all of that jazz. But it might help if you go and look at the Disney website, maybe glance at their promotions and just see what options your family might have. Just get an idea of how much a Disney vacation might be. But I would definitely suggest to start saving as soon as you can. As soon as your family knows, yeah, we need to do a Disney trip. We want to do a Disney trip. This is our next big family vacation. Maybe start saving monthly a few $100s just to start. Then once you've really honed in on what maybe a realistic budget could be for your family vacation, then break it down into the amount of months you've got to save, and then just save over time. Personally, I always have a sinking fund going for us, and so I do save monthly for a vacation. Whether that's a Disney vacation or whether it's just like a night or 2 getaway on the weekend or something that we're going. One tip that I hear a lot that I can get on with is, if you know 1000% you're going to Disney World, is you could start getting Disney gift cards. And I'll go more into where on to get them later on, because you might be able to get some discounted. Okay, now let's get into the 7 categories that I lay out for myself when I'm budgeting for a trip to Disney World. The first category that I budget for is resorts or hotels. In this section, this is where I'm gonna suggest that if you can, splurge just a little bit, enough to at least stay on Disney property. It's so convenient. There's obviously a handful of perks that go with it, which I'll mention here in just a minute, but just the added convenience of staying on property is so nice. Even too, when I say stay on property, even if that means a value, which is obviously Disney's lowest category of resorts, they're still fine. They're not anything fancy, but the theming is super fun, especially for little kids. I mean, I think my daughter probably really liked the theming of All-Star Movies just as well, if not better, than some of the more fancier resorts that we've stayed at that would be like DVC resorts. When we went not long ago, obviously we drove. We were going to Magic Kingdom maybe the day that we left, and so we went and drove there with our car the morning of. It's not too fun, to be honest. It's kind of complicated. You have to take either the ferry or the monorail in if you park at the Ticket and Transportation Center, which is where you would park for Magic Kingdom when driving yourself. And it's just not a great time, to be honest. It just takes a little bit extra. It takes longer than you would think. And the bus to Magic Kingdom, even though some people don't care for the buses, I don't mind them, and for Magic Kingdom specifically, it's a really nice perk. With all of the perks that you do get for staying on property as well, you've got things like early entry, which means if you stay at anywhere on their property, you get 30 minutes into the park early. There's also extended evening hours if you're at a deluxe resort. That's typically an extra couple hours. There's also the added transportation benefit that's included, and that means either monorail or Skyliner or boat, bus transportation. All of that is included in your stay, and it's actually quite nice. The other couple perks that you'll get is one, early booking for lightning lanes. So you get to book your lightning lane 7 days in advance instead of just 3 for anyone staying off property. And I mean, that's actually really, really beneficial. And then the last big perk is that at least as of right now in 2025, and I know they have extended it for 2026 as well, is on your check-in day only, you do get into the water park that is open for free. And that's actually just a really nice, kind of relaxing, somewhat relaxing at least, way to start your vacation. No hustle and bustle. So if you happen to be flying in or driving in and you get in, you know, lunchtime or around lunchtime, go spend a few hours at the water park. They're actually a lot of fun. The last thing I'll touch on with the resort budgeting category is just that there are 4 different categories of resorts at Disney World. Value, moderate, deluxe, and DVC villas. DVC villas is kind of in that deluxe category. It's just kind of a separate section of it, if you want to say that. Value is going to obviously be your cheapest, nothing big or fancy. They're going to be nice, clean, super fun theming for all of those value resorts. Playgrounds, I think, might be at all value resorts too. And they're just a lot of fun, honestly. If value is all that you can afford for your vacation, don't shy away from it. Don't not book at Disney World just because that's what you're gonna get. Because there's still really nice rooms, really nice resorts, and your kids are gonna love it. The moderates is gonna be your next level up. Obviously going to be a little bit nicer than the values, a little bit more expensive, but everything there at the resort is obviously just that next step up. Nicer pools, nicer restaurants, more restaurants, the whole shebang. The next category is deluxe. And I'm kind of going to talk about DVC villas in with this because they are kind of the same in a way. DVC villas is part of deluxe, but it's a separate part of the hotel essentially, and it includes a small kitchen, kitchenette, or a full kitchen, depending on kind of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, studio, which size of those you go for. Now, with the deluxe, if you are someone that's actually wanting to put the money towards a deluxe room and thinking that that's going to be worth it for your group, I would suggest looking into DVC villas and specifically looking at rentals of DVC villas and points. There are several reputable resources out there and websites that you can go to get rentals from DVC members that essentially are renting their points out because they're not using them or not going to be using them. And you get them for a discount. So if you're looking into deluxe or DVC villas, don't go directly to Disney, at least not first. Check prices at some of those other places. And I will go ahead and link a couple of the ones that I have heard are really reputable, have really great reviews, and members love. So go ahead and check down in that description box if you're interested in renting DVC villas or just doing deluxe for your vacation. Now on to the next category, and this is park tickets. So for park tickets, I'm actually going to suggest that you save yourself a little bit of money here and not do the park hopper, at least if you have little kids. Whenever we go, even as annual pass holders who have park hopper included in our stay, and park hopper, that means you can come and go to different parks throughout the same day. So if you wanted to start in Magic Kingdom, you go in Magic Kingdom for a few hours, and then you could hop over to Epcot or Hollywood Studios, whichever one you wanted to next, all in the same day. The reason I'm going to suggest to skip this part is because it's a decent amount of an added cost, and I don't think with little kids you're going to get the benefit of it. I think especially if you happen to be someone that is staying in maybe more of a value or a moderate hotel on Disney property, I would suggest this even more. If you're someone who happens to be staying deluxe or a DVC villa, you might want to consider the park hopper because, for example, if you're at a place like the Boardwalk or Beach Club, those happen to be within walking distance to both Epcot and Hollywood Studios. It's one thing that would actually be pretty easy even with little kids if you wanted to go to Magic Kingdom in the morning, come back, do a midday break, and then go out and do Epcot for the evening because it's right there. You don't even have to hop back on the bus. For myself and our family, we just really don't get the added benefit of a park hopper, not in our current stage. With our little kids, we're going just our family. We typically will go value right now. That means we'll go out to, for example, again, I'll say Magic Kingdom. We'll go out, do Magic Kingdom. We typically come back midday for a little break, whether that be my daughter naps. Most of the time she does it now, but still we come back for a midday break, just calm down, some wiggles out maybe at the playground, whatever it is. Then we'll go back and just do the same park. Especially with doing something like lightning lanes or something, then it just continues on for the same park, and it just makes that a little bit easier too. Basically, the park hopper, it's a nice benefit if you do want to use that splurge, but it's not a necessity. It really is probably something that if you're someone with little kids, you could definitely use that money elsewhere. You could use that money towards a character breakfast, towards lightning lanes, towards just some nicer dining, whatever you want, or just save that money altogether. I think there are better ways to use your money at Disney World rather than the park hopper ticket. The next thing I'll touch on when it comes to park tickets is obviously you have to figure out for your vacation how many days you're gonna be there, how many park days you need. With Disney, just like with other theme parks, the more days you go, the cheaper the next day is to add on. And so if you're someone that happens to be, maybe you're going for 5, 6, 7 days total, like as in full days, you might really want to look at adding on another day, possibly even for your arrival or departure day, if it's super cheap. Because once you get up higher and higher into those days, it's a really small amount to add on one more park day. If you do happen though to be doing that type of a trip where it's a slightly longer vacation, where you're there for 5, 6, 7 full days or more, I would consider, at least with little kids, I would definitely consider adding in a rest day, or at least a partial rest day, where maybe you even do a water park in there for part of the day, or even doing a full rest day where you spend all your resort, or taking a trip down to Disney Springs for a partial rest day too. Adding that in there is really nice. Disney Springs is actually a great area for shopping, snacks, just fun entertainment all around. Disney days really get a lot, especially for little kids. A lot of stimulation, especially if you are doing it again for 5, 6, 7 full days there. That rest day can really benefit the whole family, get you a bit less stimulated, you know, rest obviously a little bit. You're walking a lot of steps, like 10 miles a day or more. And then you can kind of wake up the next day refreshed and ready to do another 2 or 3 days of vacation. Disney is not for the faint of heart. Let's go into the next category now, and I call this one transportation or travel. This is really all about how are you getting to Disney World? Do you fly and then you need transportation to get you to Walt Disney World itself? Or are you driving? So you just need to budget in gas, or maybe a hotel stay along the way, depending on how many miles you're traveling. And one thing that I do want to mention that to not forget, if you happen to be someone who is flying in, don't forget parking fees at the airport. Unless you have someone by chance who is driving you there, or you're taking an Uber or something like that. Don't forget those little fees that I think a lot of people would forget. Another transportation part of this would be possibly doing a rent-a-car while at Disney World. I don't think this is probably really needed, unless you're doing maybe some of the other theme parks in the area, like Legoland or Universal. I just don't think you'll probably get the added benefit, especially if you're staying on property. Again, if you're off property, then it probably does benefit you. It probably makes sense to do a rent-a-car over an Uber, but that would be something to price out and figure out which is actually the most beneficial for your family. Don't forget that you can also get grocery delivery if you decide not to rent a car. Grocery delivery is actually really beneficial. We do it at our house actually with Walmart Plus. They had a deal not long ago, and it actually made it so that it's quite a bit cheaper for us than paying in gas every week to go get groceries. But if you are someone that is flying especially, it could be really beneficial to get a bunch of snack food, maybe some breakfast items, things that you know your kids will eat. I know personally, we don't really buy many snacks, especially for our kids in the park. Every once in a while, we'll stop maybe and get a nice treat. If we're hungry for ourselves, maybe we didn't pack anything for ourselves, which is probably another thing that you should think of in that grocery delivery. But it can really save you a whole lot of money, and you know that it's the snacks that your kids like from home. If you're really enjoying all these budgeting tips so far, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. It really helps my channel and helps this get to more people that are just like you. And this kind of leads into the next category, which is about dining. And this one can get out of hand. This is going to depend a little bit from family to family based upon obviously budget and everything, but also based on maybe how your kids kids, depending on their ages, how they handle restaurants and table service restaurants and sitting for a period of time. My 4-year-old is obviously getting better at sitting at table service restaurants, but our 1-year-old, he still is gonna get fidgety and not sit for all that long. Not much past the actual eating stage, that is. So we end up doing, I'd say 90%, maybe even a higher percentage of quick service. Disney has several different categories of dining, but kind of the easiest way to break it down is quick service and table service. Quick service, you can typically find kids meals for, I'd say, less than $10 per person. And for adults, you're gonna come across prices that are close to that $15 per person, but some leading closer to $20 too every once in a while. The easiest way to describe quick service is the fast food of Disney World, but that does not mean that it's all fast food. You can find some really, really nice quick service restaurants at Disney World, especially at Epcot and Animal Kingdom. Those are definitely the 2 best parks for food in general. You can still find some decent spots even at Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, that are not just burgers and fries. Then you've got all the table service restaurants. This can break down even further into character dining, signature dining, kind of the fancy stuff. But I'm just gonna touch on the basics of table service and character dining just for this time. For kids, you're typically gonna find table service meals anywhere from $10 to $20 per person. And then adults, you're gonna find them most of the time around $25 to $40 per person. But again, that's kind of for the more regular table service dining, not the signature fancy dining. You also, though, are gonna have character dining meals in there. These are definitely going to be a step up, quite a bit more expensive, but I do think if you can splurge, I would suggest doing one of these if you happen to have a kid that is not scared of characters, that maybe really likes princesses or really likes Winnie the Pooh or Mickey and Minnie, kind of especially has a certain type of character that they really, really enjoy. The character meals are typically going to be priced at about $40 to $45 per kid and about $60 to $70 per adult. Now, just remember that if your kid is under age 3, for character meals and table service meals, they're basically free. You do not have to pay for them unless you're actually going to order them a completely whole separate meal. They can eat off of your plate, even when it's buffet style, just fine. Now let's talk about the Disney dining plan just a little bit. The Disney dining plan is something that they tend to offer as a promotion, but they also just include it as something that you can add on. The Disney dining plan essentially makes your vacation feel like an all-inclusive of sorts. You have purchased your dining credits and you get to use them how you wish, but everything that I have heard and priced out myself when I have looked at the Disney dining plan is that it's not really worth it. You really need to eat a lot of food, and to be honest, I think we eat a fair bit of food in our family, but it just doesn't make sense to use it unless you happen to be someone that eats a lot of food, but also likes to get the more expensive meals at a table service or at a quick service, which that's not really our forte. As I previously mentioned, I would suggest doing a grocery delivery for snacks, diapers, don't forget snacks for yourself, maybe bottles of water if you happen to need that. Oh, and breakfast items, if you want that instead of buying breakfast at your hotel. Speaking about the bottled water though, I would definitely suggest to just bring your own water bottle. Florida gets a bad rap for having not very nice tasting, specifically Disney World water. And I mean, I live in Florida, but I can't actually attest to that because we personally use filtered water bottles. We use clearly filtered water bottles, and we have for years and years and years. They're great. They actually filter out everything a lot more than like your standard Brita filter does. Another little fact that a lot of people tend to not know, or at least forget about maybe, you can bring your own food into the parks. You can bring things like sandwiches, Uncrustables, just anything that maybe is more of a lunch or a dinner meal if you don't want to pay for food in the parks, or you're someone that doesn't like what that is, then you can bring your own luncheon. It just can't be reheated and it can't be in a glass container. Now we're going to get into the category that a lot of young families choose to opt out of, but you really, really shouldn't, and that's lightning lanes. This is the next purge that I would really, really suggest doing, especially if you're someone with little kids who just get antsy in lines, don't want to wait, just more likely to get frustrated in the lines, kind of all that type of thing. It's a really nice benefit to pay for the lightning lanes, and your 2-year-old, 1-year-old doesn't have to pay. Now, this is not something that you definitely need to splurge on for every park we typically skip it for Animal Kingdom and for Epcot. When it comes to Animal Kingdom, there's just not enough rides that make it worth it for us, especially for the bigger rides. Things like Expedition Everest or the bigger Pandora ride, those ones my little kid can't ride. Neither of my kids can ride. So there's only a couple rides that get really any sort of a wait that you need to worry about, which to me makes the Lightning Lanes for Animal Kingdom not worth it yet. The same is kind of true for Epcot, but Epcot is kind of a little bit step up, a little bit more of a think about like, maybe we do it, maybe not. 90% of the time it's a no, but still that one's something to, I would say, consider more than Animal Kingdom. At Epcot, there are more bigger rides that little kids can ride, but for us, again, there's still not enough rides that have that bigger wait that would make the Lightning Lane worth it at our stage. Now, Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom, those are both pretty much musts. Magic Kingdom is a 1000% must. You definitely need to do it because there are so many rides there and several big rides that even your 2-year-old can go on. And by big rides, I mean long wait big rides. Hollywood Studios is a little bit down from that on our scale just because the rides, you need to be just a little bit taller. There's still a lot of rides and a lot of big wait rides, but it almost comes more into play when maybe they're about 3 or 4. We're getting to that stage, you know, Adeline, she's 4. We are now at that stage where we do Lightning Lanes at Hollywood Studios because it definitely benefits. The big rides, as in long waiting rides that she can do, is a lot more at Hollywood Studios now that she's, you know, just getting that little bit taller. Okay, just a couple categories left. And the next one is souvenirs. For souvenirs, you can definitely save money in a few different ways. One is going to be to go and buy some souvenirs ahead of time and just kind of tuck them away, save them. You can get all sorts of nice, cheaper Disney items at Walmart, Target, Costco, Amazon. Another thing that you can do would be to do a Disney gift card for each kid. We've done this. We don't do it with Will yet because he's only 1, but put a certain amount of money on it, $25, $40, $50, whatever you kind of decide you want to do for the trip. Let them know that this is what they get to use for their souvenirs, and when the money's gone, they don't have any more money. The other rule that we kind of use most often is to just get them 1 souvenir trip. For us, because we go multiple times a year, this has been a nice, easy way, pretty straightforward way to just say to Adeline, okay, you know, you get to pick 1 thing, that's your souvenir for the trip. We do give some speculations to it, like we're not gonna let her get some $150 thing or even $100 thing. Sometimes this means she'll choose a princess dress. Then that means, okay, we'll let her get another gift next trip, but we won't do the princess dress next trip. We'll save another princess dress for another trip down the line. You can even follow some of these same rules for yourself, to be honest. Maybe you're someone that's going for the first time or hasn't been to Disney in a long time, and you go to these shops and you get kind of overwhelmed because they have a lot of really nice gifts. And sometimes you just want everything. One little tip I will also kind of give to this is that if you are someone that is wanting to do a lot with souvenirs, as in if you are someone that's okay with spending quite a little bit of money on souvenirs, then you might want to bring a small foldable bag, backpack, whatever in your luggage so that in case you need the extra space, you've got it. We made it to the last category, which is just extras. This is something that I'm just going to touch on real quick. It's really just all those little extras like Bippity Boppity Boutique or VIP tours, things like that don't really fall into any other category. You can even include bike rentals at your hotel into this category. Most of these little extras are going to be things that if you're trying to really do Disney on a budget, probably forgo them, but some of them might be really fun to do, like bike rentals on your resort day. My family and I did that a couple times growing up just at the Boardwalk Resort. We did the bikes that are kind of like 4 or 6 people all in one, and they're really fun to ride along, and I still have memories about those today. I'm going to answer some common questions that a lot of people have in relation to budgeting for Disney World. The first question that a lot of people ask is which time of year, what time of year is best to go when considering budget. This is gonna vary a little bit from year to year, but typically you're gonna find good chunks of January and February good for the budget, as well as some spots in September, kind of after kids go back to school. And then you can also find some pretty decent prices actually in mid-November too. You can actually go on Disney's website and look at a hotel and see their day-by-day pricing, and you can view it for the entire year. Choosing the right time of year can actually be very, very important, especially if you're someone that wants to go on a budget. You can actually save thousands by choosing the right time of year. How do I budget for my kid who's under 3? This one I did kind of touch on throughout this video, but your kid who is under 3, if they're 1 or 2, they are free at Disney. You don't need a park ticket. You don't need to pay for their dining, unless of course you are at a quick service and you have a kid that is going to actually eat most of a full meal. You don't have to pay for lightning lanes or buffet meals. They are essentially free, but you do need to include them in any dining reservations. The capacity, that still matters for kids. What about Disney gift cards, specifically the discounted type? So this is a little bit of a fun topic. You can essentially get gift cards that come out to be discounted when you buy them at places like Kroger, Fred Meyer, Winn-Dixie, Costco sometimes has them, BJ's I think sometimes has them. What we're talking about here is you can buy a discount and you get points when you buy that. So places like Kroger and Fred Meyer specifically, those often have 4 times the points for gift cards. So when you go and buy a gift card from them, you're earning a lot more points than you would on a regular grocery item. This means that that discount basically comes out for things like gas most of the time. So it's not often a direct, you get the gift card and it's a discount straight away. It's that it's returning the payment and you get something else discounted. Now, when I'm talking about Costco or BJ's, because those are more like wholesalers, those you actually can find actual discounted gift cards. You just don't find them very often. And it's basically, you might get like $20, $30, $40 off when you buy this pack that's like, I don't know, $200 or $300 or whatever it is. Disney gift cards though, you can basically use for anything. There is a website, I believe it's called disneygiftcard.com. You can actually, if you buy small gift cards throughout the year or whatever it is, you can add them all together to make one big gift card. And you can use that to pay for your vacation. The last big tip I'm going to mention or talk about is gonna be with promotions. Make sure you are checking the Disney website for promos to make sure you're not missing out on things. They do promos all the time. For me, I see a lot of Florida discounts, annual pass discounts, but in addition, they do a lot of military discounts, summer discounts. You know, if you're going for a long stay in certain times of the year, they always have promos going. So make sure you're checking those to make sure that if you're able to maybe be flexible with your dates and say, oh wait, this promo is available a week or 2 before or after what we were thinking. Maybe let's look into these dates instead. Promos are really great at Disney. These are just a few things to consider when you're thinking about your Disney World vacation and its budget. Your Disney World vacation does not have to be this overly expensive, fancy thing every time. It's not for us. We still have a magical time every time, even though we pretty much do things more on the cheap end. And like I said, it's still magical, still a great family vacation, and we still come back for more. Now that you've made it this far in the video to the end of the video, make sure that you comment what your favorite budgeting tip is, whether that's one that I mentioned or something new. I'd love to learn something new and maybe help some of our other guests here. Please go ahead and click that red subscribe button, hit the like button, join our internet family, the magical mom community, and not miss the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one for some prepping and packing tips. Bye guys.